In Mexico, drug-related violence is at an all-time high. In 2006, around 6,000 people were murdered. That's more than the number of people killed in Afghanistan in the same year.
The whole country is immersed in a fight between members of organized crime.
We are in the middle of a war, an intensive war.
The drug dealers have more power than the national army.
In this one-hour Vanguard report, we'll look at the fight amongst Mexico's government and its most notorious drug lords. In a society that's caught in the middle.
There is worry more violence can spread to the other side of the border.
So we are crossing over right now. We are heading from El Paso, Texas, into Juárez, Mexico. We were headed to Juárez, Mexico's most violent city. It's a battleground that doesn't look like one. Looking over the skyline, it seems so peaceful, so it's a little strange and disconcerting to think that in the last 3 months there have been more than 500 drug-related murders. And that's why we came to Juárez. We wanted to try to understand what's going on. Juárez doesn't look like a battleground until you start to see where all the shootings have been going on. Less than a year ago, drug traffickers tried to kill the chief of police of Juárez at this site. They drove past here and fired over 200 bullets. So you can see that some of these bullet holes have been patched up. The chief of police actually survived that incident, but his successor was killed just a few months ago. At this intersection, the director of the prison was killed in his car. We stopped at some of the locations where recent murders have taken place. 2 people here, 5 people there, 1 person here. There were around 1,400 drug-related killings in Juárez in 2008. Almost no corner has been left untouched. It's like a city of death. Everywhere we go, somebody was killed at a gas station, a bar, outside a house. It's crazy.
You cannot walk freely in the streets. If you want to go to a downtown, you cannot go to a mall with your friends as the way before. Why? Because you don't know when the bad guys are going to be there, going to start killing people.
With everything you do, when you go out in the street, there's a sense of stress, an extra stress. So is the one behind me or the one in front of me a drug lord? Is it going to be a shootout just in front of me?
So this right here, the Rio Bravo, is what separates Juárez, Mexico from El Paso, Texas. You can see behind me there's a Border Patrol truck looking into Mexico. And so they call this the Juárez Plaza. It's one of several plazas which are essentially corridors, drug routes into the United States, and that's what the drug traffickers are fighting for control of. They're fighting for control of the plaza. The main plazas provide easy access to the U.S. interstate highway system, which the cartels use to deliver drugs to the markets that they control in the U.S. The mayor of Juárez was elected at the end of 2007 to bring reform to the city.
Well, the whole country is immersed in a fight between members of organized crime, but a couple of the syndicates have their bases, one of them in Culiacán, Sinaloa, the second one in the city of Juárez. And because this is where they're based at, this is where the war between those groups has been more intense. The drug trade into the U.S. is what causes a lot of the problems in Mexico, because the money that's created by that is not because people from Juárez are consuming drugs, it's because people in the United States are demanding drugs and they flow through the city of Juárez.
One day I went out with a local journalist who's been covering the crime wave in Juárez. So Arturo, what is this radio right here?
This is a scanner, police scanner, and we can hear the codes from police.
We found out about a shooting in the outskirts of town and rushed over. You drive like a police.
I feel like a police.
Disculpe, ¿dónde encontraron al muerto?
¿Ya se fueron?
¿Ya se fueron?
Sí, ya.
Gracias. Oiga, disculpe, ¿dónde fueron? ¿Lo encontraron a la persona?
Did they take the body away already?
Yes, they're taking still the forensics.
¿Qué fue lo que pasó ahí, disculpe?
Mataron a dos.
A dos. ¿Y ustedes escucharon los balazos?
Ella sí, yo.
Yesterday in the night, he just heard the shots, 2 shots, and then some kid find the body, and were 2 bodies.
Sounds like an execution.
Yeah.
We got into the site just as the forensics van was taking the bodies away, but Arturo's photographer friends had gotten there a few minutes earlier and were able to document the crime scene. In one video, you can see shell casings on top of a cliff. It looks as if the 2 men were executed there, and then their bodies were thrown into the trash dump below. We just got word that there's been another shooting, this time a police officer. So we're headed back to the neighborhood where we were before.
It's here. Yes, correct.
Oye, Ray, ¿dónde está el muertito? ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde lo mataron?
And the dead body, it's inside of the store called Modelorama, L&E.
Do we know if it was a police that was shot?
Yes, it's supposed to be a police.
So this is just another police officer dead. There have been 40 killed so far this year in Juárez. Are scenes like this, people getting killed, something that you see often?
Dice que sí es muy común para ustedes ya estar viendo que están matando gente. ¿No es común? ¿No te parece que sea común? Oh, he said that it's not very often here.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Ready?
So those kids don't talk because they're thugs, right?
Yes, they are part of the gang, so
Right. They don't want to
they
talk.
just lie. Okay, ahí voy para allá.
It is happening one after another. We just heard that a couple other people might have been killed. One, a very successful businessman. So we're following this news crew to the scene.
I think there are 2 bodies. It's supposed that was bodyguards of this owner, of these people.
Of the owner of this amusement park.
Right. Oh, there is the body? Yes.
It's believed that the owner of this amusement park was injured. He was the target, but he wasn't killed. He was with some bodyguards. There's 2 bodies, 2 dead bodies on this site right now. In the last 4 hours, we've been to 3 different sites, and there have been 5 different people murdered. All in all, a total of 11 people were killed that day in Juárez. Coming up, Mexico's crooked cops and what some people are doing to try to reform the system. You must have a lot of enemies.
A lot of enemies, yes. And every day I have a new one.